Hey everybody, we are back. It's the Spencers. We are here with Naked and Unashamed, our podcast. We're so glad that you stopped in. And for those who's tuned in to our master class last week, we appreciate it. Hope that you are able to come and be a part of that marriage retreat. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. But tonight, we want to talk about the question, babe, does size really matter? Did y'all know that men struggle just as much as women do about their body? Am I tall enough? Am I too short? Am I too fat? Am I muscular enough? But also, babe, I think men also struggle with their equipment.
Equipment
You know,
in the garage.
the tools.
The toolbox.
The tools that help them get in the garage.
Okay.
We're going to talk about does size really matter? Not just for men, but women. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to take your love life and marriage to another level?
Ladies, do you want to bring romance back to your relationship and get that old thing back?
We got you. It's time for our second annual Naked and Unashamed Marriage Conference called Love in the Bluff on June 7th through the 9th at the beautiful Hyatt Centric Hotel overlooking the mystic Mississippi River. We will be leading one of the most exciting and engaging marriage retreats you've ever experienced.
At Love in the Bluff, we will be teaching you and your spouse how to be, building intimacy. We want to show you how to restore that erotic connection between you and your spouse.
L is for liberating fantasies. How do you ask your spouse for the love you've been dreaming about?
And the U is for unveiling communication. We want to teach you how to turn towards each other and not away from each other.
The F is for fueling desire. We want to teach you some tantalizing techniques to put fire back into your lovemaking.
And the other F is for fun and playfulness. We are going to have some interactive playtime to teach you how to enjoy each other and rediscover how to pleasure your spouse. All this will take place in the Bluff City at Hyatt Centric Hotel, where we have a block of 20 rooms.
There will be a rooftop party that Friday night, and we will be dancing the night away. And then when it's all over that night, we're going to send you back to your rooms for some playtime with the goodie bags that we're going to give you after registration.
Now, on that Saturday morning after breakfast, we will have our time of work and play as we go over new material to take your love making to higher heights.
On Saturday night, we will be attending one of the most amazing showcases of R&B talent in the Mid-South area. We've partnered with 901 Live, hosted by Dr. Derek and Darkest Pain. It's going to be amazing. Y'all know Rhythm and Blues started in Memphis.
Then on Sunday after checkout, we will have brunch at Sugar Grits. It's a time to take your love on top and meet us for Love in the Bluff. This retreat will sell out, and you can go secure your spot today by going to drstacyLspencer.com and register for Love in the Bluff.
We hope to see you and your spouse in Memphis for our 3-day Naked and Unashamed Marriage Retreat. We will see you on top. All right, y'all, we're back. We're asking the question, does size really matter? Babe, I've been doing some thinking, doing some reading around this subject, and it is startling to know that men struggle with their body image as much, maybe if not more than women do. And specifically, they struggle around the area of their penis size. Yeah, I said it. Men have thoughts around their penis size. Women may think about their breasts, their buttocks. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to start with the men first. Okay. And it's a rare man who is going to have a vulnerable conversation with his wife to say, are you satisfied with my penis size? Because it's such a sensitive subject for men, and so much emphasis has been put upon that. I think some of it is an urban myth that is old as the institution of slavery.
Okay.
Black men did not always have agency over their whole body.
Okay.
During slavery, black men were taken and used as breeding tools, almost like animals. They would call African men bucks and they would send them to different women to impregnate them to make more slaves. And then also there was this insecurity from white slave owners that they feared that this buck would get a hold to their wives. So they kept the Southern Belle up in the ivory towers to protect her from the buck. And then when men would try to run away or be rebellious and they would lynch them, part of the sadistic torture was they would castrate some of these men. Wow. So there's been this pain and trauma surrounding male genitalia, African American male genitalia, this urban myth that they are well endowed. But the reality is that a lot of men struggle with their penis size. Have you ever heard any kind of discussion amongst women about the importance of penis size? Does it even come up?
Well, in my circle of friend girls, we've never discussed the size of men's penises or as it relates to how they perform sexually in the bedroom. So I think men's penis sizes are so very different from one man to the next. So we can't tell that whether someone is well endowed or not. Because what's the old myth of, well, the saying, it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion in the ocean. So,
it's all about how you use what you got.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think some of the myths have been perpetuated too by pornography, because in pornography, the director is going to find someone who's well endowed, and people begin to, if you watch pornography and get addicted to it, you get a distorted view of sexuality because you think that the average size is the size of the people you see on the screen, which that's not the average size. The average penis size erect is 5.1 inches, right? The average penis size is 5.1 inches. Now, in these other flicks that you may have seen, it may be 8 to 9 to 10 inches. And if you get that in your mind, you're going to think, what's wrong with me if I'm not that size?
Right.
If you're 5.1 inches, you're considered having a large penis. And so, again, I think you bring up a great point. It's not about penis size as much as it is about your heart size. It's about chemistry. It's about the connection that you have with your spouse.
Absolutely.
It's about, like you said, the motion in the ocean. Now, what does that mean for you as a woman when you talk about it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion in the ocean? What does that mean for a woman?
I kid and say it's...
Hey everybody, it's Spencer stopping by. We got some exciting news. Eden Circle is back open. That's right. We have a Inner Circle program that helps you to take your marriage to the next level through some personalized mentorship. There's two things that are needed in order for your marriage to make it. You need some great coaches. Rhonda and I have been married for 30 plus years, and we want to share with you some of our experiences. And then you need a community of people who are trying to stay married. Wouldn't it be great to share ideas and to build stories together with other couples who are trying to make it? Baby, tell them the benefits of being in our circle.
Some of the benefits of being in our circle is, like Stacy said, the mentorship, the counseling. We have master classes, quarterly meetups. We have fun together. We teach different techniques because we believe in the sanctity of marriage and we want to keep married people married.
And if you're going to be married, you might as well have fun doing it. We want to help you to show you how to have fun, how to take your lovemaking to the next level, your communication, and to help you in spots when you get stuck, to help you get out of those ruts by coaching and mentorship. So simply go to, listen, if you want to be a part of this circle, go to www.theedencircle.com and register today. We want you in our inner circle.
The motion in the ocean, but it's more than penis size. It's the connection of heart to heart. It's being able to have intelligent conversations. It's having that connection, those heartstrings, being equally yoked. You know, all of those things play into not just being a good couple, a loving couple, a successful couple, but also it transfers over into the bedroom. So if you're happy with your partner, in other aspects, the sex part, the size of his penis will not matter. It will not matter. And there are transferable skills in the event that, let's say, that the motion in the ocean is not motioning. There are things you can learn to make sure that you're pleasing one
What
another.
are some of those things?
Some of the things you can learn are different techniques, trying different positions, just being in tune with your spouse, knowing what your spouse needs and what feels good.
Yeah, there is more to it than just penetration.
Absolutely.
And even with that, if you know that most of the nerve endings are around the opening of the vaginal canal,
Right.
it's not so much about how deep you go, it's how well you please those nerve endings around the opening.
Right.
So whether that's oral or whether that's you staying around the opening, you don't have to be super long in order to enjoy the quality of the lovemaking. And as a matter of fact, many Taoists will tell you that it's about healing love. It's about transferring energy more than it is pounding flesh.
Right.
And when you can make that heart connection and you're exchanging that energy and loving each other, that is more meaningful than how big you are, how deep you go. It's more about how long, what's the quality of the time we spend together, right? I was also reading about some men that may suffer from erectile dysfunction, and that comes along with age too. Like when you get in your 40s and your 50s, your testosterone level starts to drop, and you may not be able to hold an erection like you used to. But one of the things you can do, men, is to go get some hormonal replacement, some testosterone supplements to help you maintain that erection. But it's also something called the soft entry, where men who may have some erectile dysfunction issues, you can enter in either halfway hard or soft into the vaginal canal. And what the Taoists would teach you is that you may enter soft, but you're going to leave hard. If you, once you are able to go inside your wife and you begin to love and exchange that energy, chances are you're going to get hard. The older you get, the more time you need spent on helping your husband to reach erection. There's things that you can do to enhance that, like working out.
Foreplay.
Yes. Oh, that's so important.
Very important.
Talk about that.
Foreplay is so important in a relationship, especially when you get to the end of the day and that expectation is there of we're going to have this nightcap, meaning we're going to have sex. Then you both need to be in that mind frame, whether that's taking a bath or shower together, lotioning up all over your body, not just from your ankles up. I mean, everywhere. And that may be some oral stimulation on both parts, some talking, some rubbing, just some being in tune with one another.
Now, that oral stimulation is so important for men, especially as you get older. Because when we're younger, our testosterone levels are going through the roof. We're around 1,200. But when my testosterone started dropping, it went as low as 200. Now it's around 700. But what's needed as you get older is more stimulation, direct stimulation to the penis, because when you're younger, you be in math class and your teacher asks you to come and work a problem. You're like, no, ma'am, I don't want to get up, because you just have these spontaneous erections when you're younger because your testosterone levels were so high. We long for those days when we get older as men. It doesn't, as Eddie Murphy used to say, it doesn't get hard when the wind blows. But when you blow on it, the erection that comes about during oral stimulation is probably the most effective erection that you can give a man through oral sex. So ladies, I want to say to you that if you haven't learned the art of oral sex, giving your husband oral stimulation, you need to learn how to do that, because it's so important, especially as you get older. And we want y'all to be able to make love for life. Make love all the way through every decade. And you can do it, but you got to concentrate. So go ahead.
Let's be clear. It doesn't always have to be from the mouth. You lube them up and use your hand. There's some tricks that you can learn where it's not always your mouth, but you can use your hand as well to help with that erection.
But let me be clear. The mouth is the best. But there are different ways. There are different ways to stimulate one another. But I want the men to know that you are the way God made you to be. Be comfortable with who you are. You got to learn how to love yourself. The best thing you can do is to be healthy. Working out. When you work out, that builds your testosterone. Especially when you work your leg muscles and you do squats, that helps. It's the biggest muscle on your body. So work your legs. Don't skip leg day. That's going to help build your testosterone. Watch this, babe. The more sex you have with your spouse, that naturally builds testosterone in the man and the woman. So the more sex you have, the more sex you're going to want. But the adverse is also true. If you don't have sex, it works against you to the point where your libido decreases, your testosterone goes down, you're not building the oxytocin chemical release between one another. So all of that matters. But what matters the most is the connection, the love connection. Because no matter what your penis size is, if your heart is in the right place and your wife adores you, she's not going to be stuck on how big it is. She's going to be enamored with how big your heart is. And all of the techniques that you incorporate will help to consolidate the attraction she has in addition to your penis size. Right. And again, the average penis size is 5.1 inches erect. And I did some research, babe, and it said that many women, the average woman, wants a penis around 6.3 inches.
That's specific.
It is specific. Because when they did the research and went to sex stores and asked what was the size of the dildos that many women, the sex toys that many, it was 6.4 inches. Oh. Just a little bit more than the average penis size.
Okay.
But they also discovered that women who bought larger dildos, more times than not, brought them back for a refund because it caused stretching or ripping or discomfort. Many women may fantasize about a larger penis, but the reality is that once you engage with a large penis, chances are the discomfort is not something you're going to be wanting back to back every night because of the tearing and the chafing or bumping up against your uterus. But the average size that women said that they want was 6.3.
And I think as women age, our bodies go through the change. You were talking about how men may need to go and get hormone replacement or testosterone shots. We as women go through menopause, and that normally starts around 40. And menopause is not a destination, as my gynecologist told me. It is until we are no longer on this earth. So there will always be some type of symptom, whether that's dryness, mood swings, all that. But what I'm saying is, regardless of the size of your spouse's penis, you can still experience the chafing and the tearing of the walls, because when you get older, the lining of your walls no longer is thin. So we're not shedding them because we're having a cycle every month. It's thinning because we don't have the estrogen is depleting. Mm-hmm. And so we need extra. We need that lubrication. We need the extra time stimulating whatever it is. Whether, mine is different from other women. I like to be touched all over my body, not just honed in on one particular spot. So make sure, men, that you are loving your spouse totally from the top of her head to her toenails. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, but get my toenails out.
Not right now. Yeah, it's important, and what I love about you is that you love all of me, and and I love all of you. And we have reached a point after 30 years of marriage where we can talk about these things.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that's important for men, to communicate with your spouse. To ask your wife, does this please you?
Right.
Do you like it when I go deep, or do you like it when I'm shallow? You know, do you want me to go all the way in or just stay in? Do you like circle? All of that, that's so necessary, because your wife should be your focal point in terms of what pleases her. Not what you saw on some porn site, not what you saw in the movies, not what you talked about in the locker room. What works for you and your wife? That's the most important piece. Does size really matter? I would say it doesn't. What matters most is how you use what you have. Little, what we say this in church, little becomes much.
When
you
put
it in the master's hand.
But when you say that, we are all divinely made by God.
Yes,
you know, God made each one of us, of course, in his image, but we're all so very different. So you're different from my brothers, my biological brothers. You're different from every other man on this planet. And so you cannot, and women, we're different from our sisters and from every single other female on this planet. So you cannot compare yourself to the next, because the attributes that God has entrusted in you are so very different from anybody else's giftedness.
That's good.
You know?
Baby, you're saying a lot. It's so important that we love our bodies as God made us. And some of y'all are listening tonight, you're like, I cannot believe that Pastor Spencer and his wife are talking about penises and breasts and buttocks.
But guess what? You came on this channel because that's what we talk about.
And guess what? The Bible talks about it.
Absolutely.
In Song of Songs, there's 8 chapters. It's one of the most erotic pieces of literature in Scripture. And for 8 chapters, they're talking about each other's body parts. The man is saying to the woman, your breasts are like 2 fawns. And when he said 2 fawns, the image is when you see 2 fawns galloping over the hills, the back of their tails are white and in the shape of breasts, and they're bouncing. He said, your breasts are like 2 fawns jumping over a hill. He says, your body is like a tower that I want to climb, and your breasts are like clusters that I want to taste. Then she calls the man, she said, here comes my stag. She says in chapter 3, she says, I want to sit under your tree and taste your fruit. So that whole book of literature is talking about body parts. He says your navel is like a goblet I want to drink from. He says your pubic area is like a cluster of wheat grass that I want to. Yeah, so all of those body parts are mentioned. And I think we have to get to the point where we love our temples, love our bodies. God created these bodies for us to enjoy, to receive pleasure, to enjoy. We're not supposed to be ashamed of our body parts. We're supposed to love our body parts. And I think, again, the institution of slavery taught us how not to love our body. We didn't have agency. Women couldn't own their yes and their no. They were raped by the slave masters. Men were treated as breeders. But now we're rediscovering the beauty of love and sexuality and bringing it back to the divine place that God meant for it to be. Yes. Listen, we have talked about the men so far. I want to take a pause. I think we're going to have to come back for part 2.
Okay.
And talk about women. And so we're going to stick a pin right here, because there's a whole nother part 2 of how we want to talk about women and their body parts, because women struggle too with their body image. But before we leave tonight, I want to take time to talk about something that's very, very important. And that is, we have a Love in the Bluff marriage retreat that's coming up in June. And a lot of people say, well, that's in June. Why are you talking about it now? Because we're talking about it now because we only have 20 blocks of rooms, and we want you and your spouse to reserve your spot. Babe, I think I am so excited about this Love in the Bluff marriage retreat, because we're talking about building intimacy. How do we get to the place where we are connected and we're naked and without shame. We're enjoying each other. We want to put that spark back in people's marriages.
Absolutely. Liberating fantasies so that you're not ashamed to share things that you may be thinking, but you might not act on them, but you're communicating that to your spouse.
And I mean, you might be sitting on something that your spouse wants to try, but neither one of y'all are brave enough to say, you know, I always wanted to do it on top of the dryer. And your husband's like, hey, that sounds good. Let's go in the washroom right now. But we want to teach you, how do you ask for the sex you want? The U for Bluff stands for unveiling communication. Communication is so key. It's important that we learn how to turn towards each other and not away from each other. One of the death tolls of a marriage is when you don't communicate, when you stonewall, when you don't open up and share what you're really thinking. We want to teach you how to communicate. What's the F?
An F is for fun. Of course, having fun with one another when you're, doing new things, exploring one another. Make sure that you have a childlike wonderment where you want to learn and explore each other.
Yeah, there's more to do than missionary.
Absolutely.
You don't have to always stay in the bedroom. And that leads to the other F, which is fueling desire. One of y'all may want it more than the other wants, but it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. We just want to teach you how to balance out your libidos. What do you do? How do you set the proper context so that you have good sex? And y'all meet each other halfway and have that passionate, fiery love that you had when you first met each other. So Love in the Bluff is going to be June the 7th through the 9th, but you should go and lock your room in now. And we set it up to where you can have 4 easy payments. And the payment, watch this, the cost of it for 3 days, 2 nights, stay in a hotel, that cost will cover two nights stay in the Hyatt Centric. It also covers your ticket for the R&B showcase of love music, 901 Live. It's going to be amazing. That also includes a meal. It's your swag bag, and it covers 5 workshops on that Saturday. It's going to be a power-packed weekend of making love on the bluff, teaching you new techniques, teaching you how to bring your love together. So tonight, if we were you, because it's going to sell out, if we were you, go to drstacyelspencer.com and register for Love in the Bluff and start your first payment so that you can lock in your hotel rooms, get your ticket for the R&B showcase, get your swag bag full of all these goodies that we're going to have in there, lotions and
all kind of stuff.
All kind of edibles. And, I mean, I can't tell you everything. But it's going to be really, really good, and we're excited about it. But we're going to pause right here because it's so much more we want to tell you about does size really matter. We talked about the men. Now we're going to talk about the women. So share this broadcast, please, if you like what we had to say tonight. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll respond back. Or email us at drstacyelspencer@gmail.com. If you're too ashamed too scared to ask questions right here on this YouTube channel, just email us and we will respond to you privately. No question is a dumb question. We're not afraid to answer any of your questions. So please respond in kind. Anything else you want to say?
Register today.
Amen. And so we're going to be back next week with part 2 of Does Size Really Matter? Stay tuned to find out. Share this, please, with your friends, your couple friends. Share this with them because we need to talk about this. We'll see y'all later.